So I understand the music means we have to start. We are not so many, because I think most of your colleagues thought, rightly so, in a way, that the roaming celebration of tonight has already started. But what we are discussing, it's really important, believe me. I mean, so all of you that are present, first of all, thank you for this, and you will not regret it. And the reason why it's important is because I still, and also this is the reason why we wanted to have this discussion in Malta, I still remember what happened when, due to an accident, the submarine cable that links Malta with mainland Europe was cut. Malta was without internet connection. It was panic, no? Panic around. And it was really serious. It was quite some years ago, and if it would happen something like this now, that would be real, not just panic, but a real disaster for all the Maltese economy. So connectivity these days, it's like, I mean, air routes and rail routes. It's really, I mean, necessary for our society to function. That's why we in Europe try to really think about global connectivity as one of our duties in terms of a global actor, and also because we think it brings benefit to those we connect and to those we connect with. And of course, you might say connectivity is the responsibility of private companies. I mean, they do this, they do their business, they have a return on investment. Well, the economics of connectivity is complicated. I mean, yes, there's a case normally for connectivity, for commercial connectivity, but not just when it comes to, for instance, connectivity that links research institutions, not just when this connectivity goes in areas where the digital market is not that developed. And today, we will listen to different areas of the world and different cases where exactly this is the problem. We will have the Mediterranean perspective, and that's very important from the presidency. We will have a real-life case that will be presented, but before this, also the Balkan perspective. So we have here the two coming, the present presidency, the upcoming presidency, with the Mediterranean perspective and the Balkan perspective. Two very important perspectives for Europe. And then we have a success case that we will present to you, where actually this blending of European effort, Brazilian effort, private capital really worked well, and actually we managed to reach the goal. So connecting our communities means that then we can benefit all what we have talked during the day. I mean, you don't have big data without connectivity. You don't have the possibility to link supercomputer networks without connectivity. You don't have high-quality health or e-government without connectivity, and especially looking at our research community, they do need it. So that's why it's so important. But so my blah blah is over. Now we go to the real thing. So I will start with Andrew and with the Mediterranean perspective.
Thank you, Roberto, for the introduction. As you were saying, I quite remember that day when we ended up without internet. At that period in time, I was working in a bank over here and got the news, no internet, so everything stopped. So actually they came and told us, go home. And for me at that point in time, it was like, you know, I didn't know the subject that well. I was like, you know, free day off. But you can imagine the repercussions this had on our economy. So that is something that, for us, gave us an appreciation of what it really means to be connected. And I think one of the things that we realize is that the international connectivity aspect cannot be separated from the national connectivity aspect. So one of the aims of the digital single market, as you said, is to roll out high-speed internet and having you know, fiber and cable and high-speed networks which are rolled out throughout the country. We are one of the countries which has perhaps the biggest success story in this regard. We have almost 100% coverage of high-speed internet. But what does that serve if we don't have then the links with the outside world, that if there's an anchor which drops in the wrong place, then we end up without internet. You can have the best networks at the local levels, but you still need the international aspect to be as strong as the national level in that regard. As you know as well, also over the last week, we've had an election in Malta. And one thing which I think was very telling in this regard is that the two major parties in the electoral manifesto both had as one of their electoral commitments that of having an extra link apart from the link that we have right now with Sicily, but to have another link with the rest of Europe. So right now, there's been some studies from our national authorities and to have possibly a link between Malta and the south of France. And what emerged from those studies is that we could possibly even go further than that and serve as a hub in terms of going from Malta to Europe, but also Malta to Africa, North Africa particularly. So I think that's something that, for us, speaking from a national perspective, is quite interesting in that it opens millions of other possibilities and opportunities moving forward. We are quite interested in this and quite, so to say, quite focused on this right now, because over the last couple of years, our industries have become more and more dependent on connectivity. Since that incident you mentioned, Roberto, we've had the financial industry which has continued to evolve. We've had the gaming industry, which at the point in time was still in its infancy, and now we are a global player in that regard as well. And these are all industries which rely exclusively on the need of having not an adequate international connectivity, but a very good international connectivity level. Now as well, we're trying to go as a country and expand into fields like fintech, medical technology, etc. And that as well would necessitate that we would have these things as well. But we also see then the other side is what we have right now needs this consolidation, but going forward in terms of new opportunities for areas where we can potentially develop new business models for technology and cooperation with the north of Africa, the Middle East area as well. So that's something that we are quite looking for as well, not just for us as a country, but for that region as well, but also for the European Union as a whole. So that's something that for us as a government, I believe it's becoming more and more of a priority moving forward.
Thank you, Andrew. And what I want to say is that really we see this issue eye to eye with the Maltese government. We are very much convinced. Is it? No. 1, 2, 3. I would need to shout.
No.
Okay, now. I was saying that we see this.
No.
Doesn't work again. Hello? You have to shout again. I can't
It
shout.
seems. Mine is still on, so probably that's why.
Okay, thank you. That's the proof you need 2 connections. You see, you have a live proof. We did it on purpose. So, what I want to say is, I just wanted to say, and I repeat it gladly, that we see eye to eye with the Maltese government this particular point, and really we want to help in terms of supporting Malta in terms of feasibility studies, coming in with our instruments, I mean the so-called Juncker Fund, the Broadband Fund we are establishing, and also looking at the role that Malta has in the middle of the Mediterranean. It's important what Andrew said, what we can do in terms of linking also with the southern rim of the Mediterranean and down to Africa. So it means that also we would be very interested to cooperate looking at our development aid program. So this is just the appetizer, and fireworks tonight are for the roaming, maybe in sometime in the future, not too much distant in the future. Fireworks will be for new connections between Malta and the rest of the Mediterranean, south and north. So thank you very much. Now let me move to another very strategic region for Europe, which is the Balkans. I think it's clearly that our commitment to the Balkans, the Balkan policy, it's really visible in many ways, but in a digital world, this commitment passes through also better connectivity. And now, if there's a sort of passing of the responsibility of the presidency from Malta to Bulgaria, there's also, this kind of theme that will continue, of course, seeing an interest for the Mediterranean connectivity, but more and more looking also at what we will do with the Bulgarian presidency at the Digital Assembly in Sofia. We will look also at the Balkan region. Istos, the floor is yours.
First of all, I would like to extend my sincere gratitude to the Maltese presidency and the Commission for the opportunity to take part in the Digital Assembly and this very significant session. Bulgaria, I would like to emphasize that Bulgaria is part of Southeastern Europe in the center of Balkans, yes. Bulgaria fully appreciates and supports the European Commission's efforts to help build cross-border high-speed connectivity in areas that currently lack such coverage and cannot fully exploit the opportunities offered by the information society and internet. While the widespread availability of quality ICTs and broadband networks in particular is a precondition. Okay, thank you. For a knowledge-based economy to flourish, the Balkans region is behind the European Union average in the diffusion of these infrastructures. Similar to the examples for Latin America and North Africa, some countries located in the Western Balkans also suffer from poorly deployed or an absence of high-speed communications infrastructure. In addition, after the investments made internally by each country, what is currently missing is a strong interconnection between countries and with the rest of Europe. In this regard, they represent appropriate target group for the assistance of neighboring countries with the financial support of the European Union. As a member states of the European Union, which will take over the presidency of the Council of the European Union in the first half of 2018, Bulgaria has priorities in the field of telecommunications and internet, information society that are in line with the current European Union agenda. As a result, we are well aware of the issues of stimulating connectivity as an essential prerequisite for the development of a single digital market. An unimpeded movement of goods and services. On the other hand, as a member state located in the center of the Balkans, Bulgaria is aware of the role and commitment it could have to the countries in the area of the Eastern Balkans in order to mediate the efforts of the European Commission in the process of affirming the capabilities of information technologies and internet. In this regard, Bulgaria could play the role of a hub on the Balkans, and with the joint efforts of these countries and funding from European Union funds to coordinate the process of creating high-speed optical connectivity in the countries of this region, Macedonia, Albania, Montenegro, and others. This would also help deepening the forms of cooperation between the scientific and academic communities in these countries. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's really interesting, and it's going to be, as I said, not only an interesting development for the digital society, but the society as a whole, and the possibility to have better integration in the Balkans. Now, we come to the real thing now, because Alfonso will present to you the connectivity project that links Europe with Brazil. So, thank you. Alfonso, the floor is yours.
Does it work? The mic, or I change? Good, thank you. Well, thank you very much for the invitation to be here. Thank you very much for the hosting, and thank you very much for the company. I am delighted to be here, and I appreciate the opportunity to tell you about our projects which have a root in Europe, both in terms of connectivity and in terms also of the ideas that drive them and some part of the support. I'll tell you more about it. Okay, I believe I will start here. This is Gran Tecán. Gran Tecán is today the largest telescope, functioning telescope on Earth. And it's resident in Canarias. And we have with us the DG of Canalink, a company that we created and that is now being run directly by the local authorities of Tenerife. And the Gran Tecán has been built there, and for some time when it was being built, the opportunity arose with European funds to connect that telescope to the mainland in Spain. So this is the company that made it, Islalink. Islalink, as I said, built Canalink with a seed money, of course, with a local demand and a significant demand for local operators. And in the process of being announced, Gran Tecán, I had the opportunity to meet with some people from South America, the president of CLARA. CLARA is the Corporación Latinoamericana de Redes Académicas, which is the equivalent of GEAN. If you probably know, GEAN is a network of networks that links all the research and educational networks in the different countries of Europe together. Well, similarly, CLARA does that in South America. And when I met that person, after the experience, as you see in the map, of having connected Gran Tecán, let's see if it works. Okay, Gran Tecán, that we connected to the peninsula. So the idea was born in that meeting to connect Latin America with Europe as well. And it was a fruitful conversation that happened 6 years ago. Ever since, things have happened, and we created for that purpose EULA-Link, as you probably have guessed. All the companies we have created have the link in it. Canalink is a link because we're reaching the islands of Balearics and Canary Islands. Canalink because we're in Canarias. And EULA-Link because we're linking Europe with Latin America. And at the end, EULA-Link created a joint company with the government of Brazil named ELA-Link. Okay? What you are seeing now in that map is very hard to see because telegeography has decided this year to make a black background and to see it in the night and so forth. It's very fancy. But what you have to see in there, and you can probably guess that you have, this is America, this is Europe, this is Africa, and so forth. What you can see there is a significant white paths, which the whiter, the brighter, the bigger. So there is a lot of communication going on between Europe, where you see a hub of the wheel, despite the fact that internet is an idea that was born in the US, it's actually Europe where the hub of the internet is, because Europe is in the middle of Africa, Asia, and America. So we are in the middle, and we are the market where most information is exchanged. And we have to capitalize on that. So it's obvious in this particular frame is that those two extremes, despite being so bright, don't link to each other. And we come to close the triangle. So in fact, the project of ELA-Link is intending to close that, and as has been mentioned before, protection is a need. We have to have elements which are more than one path. And this is how the idea became a project and is becoming a reality. So the need for ELA-Link is that connectivity. What you can add to that as well, that all the communications today, as is shown here, you have that pentagon where you see each one of the continents, and the link between America and Europe is huge, and also is a big one between, as you saw in the map before, between North America and South America. But the direct link is 1,000th in capacity, so that is what is missing. And we come to give an answer to that particular need. Okay, to do so, we started in those conversations with Red Clara in 2010. Then we initiated conversations with the government of Brazil. We took part in several visits, both economic and political. And at the end, we signed with Telebras in 2015 the creation of a joint company. Today, after that, we also have been working with the European community and with the different directors generals, and there is part of our capacity is going to be used to communicate Géant with Clara. And there is a 25 million euro fund that will buy half a fiber pair in our system. Okay, just for information, the shareholder of the 35% of ELA-Link is Telebras. Telebras is, let's say a state company, even though 15% of its shares are in the stock exchange. But you can see there it has 25,000 kilometers of fiber linking the whole country. And as of June the 4th, a satellite, geostationary satellite of Telebras has started functioning that will reach 5,700 cities inside of the country. So it's a significant reach that will bring internet, that will bring the digital society into every corner of Brazil. We are delighted to have that company in this project. In fact, we are very happy that in April 24th, Brazil and Spain met together, and as part of that meeting, we celebrated the launching of this project. There you have the president of the Spanish government, Mariano Rajoy, two ministers, Gilberto Kasabi, Minister of Science, Technology and Communications, Aloysio Nunes, Minister of Foreign Relations, Geraldo Alckmin, who is responsible for about 40% of the economy of Brazil because he is the governor of the state of Sao Paulo. So we have a tremendous commitment, both from Spain and from Brazil, and the support of the European community to make the European Union to make this cable happen. Okay, ELA-Link is made possible then thanks to that support, and we appreciate and thank you for that. However, this is the cable that we are going to put. The reality is a 10,000 kilometers cable, 9,200 kilometers plus a branch of about 900, and is going to connect Sines at the south of Lisbon with Madeira, hopefully, it's available to the Canary Islands. The Canary Islands would like to connect themselves to this, to Cabo Verde, and we'll go to Fortaleza, and from there it will extend down to Sao Paulo, to Santos. We have selected a European supplier. We are very glad that after a tender in which 6 suppliers participated, ASN made the best offer. This is the building we have in Praia Grande. This is the network in Praia Grande and the connection with Sao Paulo, as well as the building in Sines that is very near the beach, and the ring that is going to link Sines, Lisbon, and Madrid. We have put a lot of work in this. We have been working on this for 5+ years, and we are right now launching the project. What is it going to contribute, this project? The first thing is that it's going to be the only very large broadband direct route connecting Europe to LATAM. And it's going to become, when routers are let free, they normally take the shortest route. And our route is 40% shorter than the route around the triangle. It is also a geographically diversified path, so it's safer. It has less points of failure, and it has one particular property, which is it doesn't go through it goes from a country that is where information is private to another continent where information is private. It doesn't go through this country where the information of the citizens is protected, but not of the foreigners. So we believe we are very well received, and we are delighted to be putting that together. And of course, we are delighted also to be contributing to the European Space Observatory. As you know, in the world, there are 3 major sites for observing the universe. One is in Hawaii, another one is in Atacama, which is this one, and the other one is in Tenerife, the Gran Tecan that we show you in the first slide. So the ELT is going to be connected through our cable. Okay, now that we have reached that point in Fortaleza, we became engaged in helping other part of Europe, which is the aerospace industry, be more competitive. I think every one of you is aware that the most active launching pad in the world is the French Guiana. The French Guiana spends almost 1/2 the amount of fuel that is spent when you launch from Florida. So the system is much more efficient. And thanks to that, it has developed also with a very well-managed industry in France to capture most of the launchings of satellites in the world. American satellites, Russian satellites, and European satellites. So we have been in contact with the French Guiana, Collectivité Territoriale de Guyane, and we have put together a project in which part of the funds will come from the European Union, part of the funds will come from the French government broadband project, and of course, the rest of the funds will come from private investors to connect, as you see, Kourou directly to the cable that goes to Europe. You can see it better here, but we will be able to go directly from Guyana to Europe without passing through the North America. Okay. And here you have the connectivity from the base. And of course, we are delighted again to be contributing to Europe's aerospace industry. And having reached that point, one more step, our friends from Bella means building ELA, means building the connectivity between Europe and Latin America. And this team of Clara has been, since we started working, they are building a fiber ring around South America. And they have gone all the way from Fortaleza, down Argentina, Chile, Peru, Ecuador, and Colombia. But they haven't been able to connect Colombia to Fortaleza. So we have been talking about putting together a cable now that we are in Guyana to connect Guyana to Colombia. And that is the next project. In that project, there are some European funds. I don't know exactly how many there right now because it's incipient, but it's a project that we expect will be launched at the same time than the others because the opportunity, you probably are not familiar with submarine cables, but submarine cables have about 1/3 of the money that you put in a submarine cable is on the vessels. And the vessel is about 1/3 of the amount of money you put in the vessels is getting them out of port. So it's much better to put many cables together than to go and start all over again to launch each one of them. So this is our work, building a Caribbean gateway to Europe. And this is the vision that you can see of the different phases of the project as of today. And we are very thankful to the European initiatives on this respect for having driven and supported these projects.
Alfonso, thank you very much for your very interesting presentation. Of course, seeing these beautiful photos, you are tempted to go physically rather than digitally there, but it's really well done. I wonder if you have questions to Alfonso from the room or from the panelists, or you all want to celebrate the end of roaming. That looks like the case. So I thank you all for this. And as I said, for us, international connectivity will be really one of our important priorities of our policy action. So thanks a lot for your contribution. And thanks to you for having this team to follow this last panel. Thank you.